three. Dagger! Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Well Beyond the Arc. I'm Manoli.
And I'm Montana.
And we're happy to have you guys join us. Sorry for the technical difficulty delay on our end today, but we're here. We're here. We're better than ever, as Mike Greenberg would say. Glad you guys can join us. Happy holidays. Merry Christmas. It's a great time of year, except for the weather here in the Midwest, which Montana is getting accustomed to really quickly. Montana, where are you coming from today?
Coming from Nebraska, definitely a little bit different than that sunshine in Hawaii. Definitely not feeling the same. Not able to leave after a great episode of Well Beyond the Arc and go back out into the sun because instead of it being like 2 p.m. there right now, I'm sitting in the 6:45 cold Nebraska winter. So a little bit of a different setting, but it's great to be back. Spend the holidays with family, friends. Always a good time.
Well, I'm glad you made it back home safely. I see the lettuces flowing as usual. Greatest moment in the game right there, ladies and gentlemen. Well, before we get into our show, and it's going to be a great one today, talking NBA basketball as always. If you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button on the bottom left-hand corner if you're watching us on YouTube. If you're listening to us and watching us on Facebook, welcome. Listening to us on Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts. Appreciate you joining us as well. So, Montana, let's get right into it. Our squads had a bit of a rough week, but for different reasons. Excuse me. Let's try English again. How about your Lakers this week?
So a little bit of an up and down week. I mean, we did not have the worst time record-wise, pulled off a couple of decent wins, but unfortunately, Anthony Davis is out again. No one is surprised. If you're a Lakers fan, you're especially not surprised. I was really hoping he could stay healthy. I was really hoping that we could see more MVP level Anthony Davis, but I was never putting him in my top 5 list because I knew Anthony Davis can go down just as quickly as he can give you a big game, and he's done just that. LeBron, unfortunately, also went down. Hopefully he can come back. We are currently sitting 12th in the West at 13-7, definitely better than we were at before, and I think we can continue. But the biggest problem with the Lakers is, like we've seen with this most recent loss versus the Suns, when AD is out, you're in trouble. But when LeBron and AD are out, this team has no chance. They have zero chance when both of those guys are out. You need to have a roster that's deep enough and complete enough to at least have a chance. But I think they lost to the Suns by like 24 to 26 points. I mean, it was a blowout. And there's no excuse. I don't care you don't have your stars. You need to have a team that's sustainable. Because what if these guys go out in the playoffs? What are you going to do? Just get bounced that easily? So I'm looking way too far ahead. That's to say the Lakers even make the playoffs. But no, definitely not the best week. Our next 6 games, though, are definitely winnable, especially because I do think LeBron is rumored to come back. It's not a serious injury. I think AD is out with that foot for about a month, they said. But our next 6 games are the Kings, the Hornets, the Mavs, the Magic, the Heat, and the Hawks. If we only have LeBron, I definitely think we can go 3-3 and improve our record. But if LeBron is out for some reason, I'm worried we might drop a lot of those games. So that being said, not a great week, but we got that Nuggets win and we got a decent Wizards win. So definitely not the worst week we could have.
At least you saw your team win in the last 7 days. I can't say that about my Bulls. It's been a rough week, and it just keeps getting rougher for Chicago NBA basketball team. Had an 0-3 week. Lost twice to the Knicks at home, once in overtime, some questionable shot selections. Bounces didn't go our way, and Alex Caruso getting embarrassedly crossed up by Jalen Brunson for the Knicks to go up late in overtime in that game. Then blown out at home. Looked like they gave up in the second half. And then you think, even in today's NBA, when your team scores 126 points, you would think your team wins. Except if you're the Chicago Bulls and you give up 150 points in regulation to the Minnesota Timberwolves without Karl Anthony Towns, without Rudy Gobert. Pathetic. Absolutely pathetic. The team, listen, I love my Bulls. I've always loved my Bulls since 1991. But I got to be a little critical of them right now. The defense, I mean, you and I, Montana, can play better defense than the Chicago Bulls right now. I've never seen you play, but I'm pretty sure you move around better than a traffic cone, which is more than you can say about Nikola Vucevic. they're not playing together. They're not, as Billy Donovan keeps talking about spirit in post game press conferences. I don't even know what that means, spirit. I mean, just listen. You're played millions of dollars to play this game. I'm not going to go on that type of rant, but it's a privilege to wear the Chicago Bulls jersey, just like it is to wear a privilege to wear the Los Angeles Lakers jersey, Boston Celtics jersey, Milwaukee Bucks, even the Oklahoma City Thunder. But these guys aren't. They're too much talent on this team, but they're mailing it in. And I'm having serious doubts about this squad on whether or not maybe we should trade DeMar DeRozan and Nikola Vucevic to the Lakers for whoever. I don't know. But whatever's happening isn't working, and something's got to be done. Either tank for Victor Wembanyama or shape up. I don't know. I'm just disgusted at my Bulls right now. I can't even bring myself to wear a Bull shirt right now. I am wearing the hat, but that's just a frustrated fan that is just fed up with his Bulls right now. So, and then there's the news of Zach LaVine reportedly not seeing eye to eye with management. That's where all the uh, online articles are saying, and saying that he and DeMar DeRozan have had multiple sit downs on trying to get their on court chemistry. I mean, what has DeMar DeRozan done to piss off Zach LaVine? I mean, Zach LaVine re-signed his max deal. He wanted to be paid like the man so he can be the man. And now, I even see it during games. He's forcing up shots because he's not getting the same shots that DeRozan's getting. Well, get open, play some defense, get out in transition, get a stop, get a steal, go to the bucket. But anyway, I can go off on a tangent that won't make any sense, so I'm going to pause. But rough week for our squads. Montana, do you want a Zach LaVine, Nikola Vucevic, or DeMar DeRozan right now? We're selling.
Hey, I mean, yeah, we'll take any one of those guys, honestly, especially with AD being down and LeBron also. I'm going to say it right now. Yeah, people look at LeBron like, the bulletproof, he can do anything. He's never going to get caught by Father Time. But that's not true. We're seeing a lot of breaks in that theory. So unfortunately, with worries I have about LeBron's health long term, especially if he's having to cover a lot of the workload for AD, I'd take any of those guys. We'll take them all. You guys can eat. We'll take them all.
Well, despite all that and me bitching and moaning about the Bulls, there are now a season high 7 games under 500, sitting at 11-18. But despite all that, they're 11th in the East, only a game out of the 10th play-in spot. Don't ask me how. Well, Washington Wizards and the rest of the East has sucked lately, but I don't know. It's ugly in Chicago right now. So I don't know. Even despite your Lakers with the AD injury and things of that nature, it's looking a little bit better in Tinseltown. But anyway, we're not here to bitch about the Bulls and Lakers all podcast long. It's the holiday season, and as an NBA fan, Christmas Day games are something that we look forward to every year. Some great matchups. And let's get into the matchups that are going to be happening this year, Montana. We'll just go through them one by one. 5 great games. Excited to see these as usual. Let's start with the early game. The Philadelphia 76ers at the New York Knicks. You excited for this game, and who do you got?
Well, the Knicks have been looking great right now. The Knicks have actually started to piece together some wins. I believe that while we record this episode, they're going for their 8th straight win versus the Warriors, I believe is who they're playing now, trying to get to number 8. So they've had themselves some success. I believe they're 6th in the East now. So if you asked me at the beginning of the season, am I excited to see the Knicks in a Christmas game? I'd probably say no. But with how they've been playing now, I absolutely am. And I think it could be a really good game. But of course, I've got the 76ers coming out on top. I think it could be a hard-fought game, but I think the 76ers, especially in the 4th, are just going to take over and end up winning. And I've got them winning by 10 to 12 points against this Knicks team, but I think it'll be a good game all the way through.
Yeah, I mean, it's in New York. The Knicks usually host Christmas Day games in Madison Square Garden, a bit of a tradition in the NBA. Knicks are hot right now. I think they've won something like 6, 7 in a row. Again, but then again, 2 of those are against a junior varsity team in Chicago. They're playing well. They're defending well. Tibbs has them playing well on both ends of the court. But Joel Embiid has been tearing it up. He is a problem. He's not just a problem for the Bulls, or for the Bulls. Of course, he's a problem for the Bulls. He's not just a problem for the Knicks. He's a problem for the rest of the league. I actually think this is going to be a close game with an early game in New York. Philly, it's not that much of a travel time. I agree. I have Philly, but I think I have Philly in a close game. What about your Lakers traveling to Dallas to take on the Dallas Mavericks? Bit of an early-ish game, I think 1:30 Eastern time, which usually the Lakers are more in prime time. But hey, they're still playing on Christmas. Who you got?
So this is a tough one for me. I'm really not sure at this moment because I think it really depends on if we have LeBron or not. I do think that right now what I'm seeing is that LeBron should be back, and it's definitely not the same severity as Anthony Davis. But I'm going to be honest, even with LeBron, with the way this team has looked, they look better, and they're playing a Mavs team that isn't in much. They're not in a better position than the Lakers by much. I think they're like 1 or 2 games ahead of them, ranking wise. So
Game and a
I
half.
haven't.
Yep.
Yeah, it's not. I mean, they're neck and neck when you really look at it, but I've got to give it to the Mavs. Even with LeBron, even if LeBron is out, I give the Lakers a chance. But I think the Mavs, at the end of the day, I can't believe I'm saying this because the Mavs don't have a very good, very well put together roster. But I think they definitely have a better roster than the Lakers. So I've got the Mavs winning, but I do think that it will be close no matter which side it goes on. But I think the Mavs win it in a decently close game.
Yeah, I agree. I'd have the Mavs as well, but with one caveat that Luka's supporting cast hit some outside shots. Yeah, Luka's been tearing it up all season. He's been a one-man wrecking crew for the Mavs. But, if LeBron plays, who knows? He might take on that defensive challenge at some point during that game. And, Lakers, I see them trying to double team Luka. He's going to have to kick it out to some of those shooters, Spencer Dinwiddie, Tim Hardaway Jr. Guys like that, they're going to have to make shots. But then again, you can say that about half the teams in the league. It's a make or miss league. If they hit shots, they're going to win. I think the Mavericks are going to pull it off on Christmas. I got them winning by 10. All right, the Milwaukee Bucks at the defending Eastern Conference champion Boston Celtics.
This is
Celtics
going to be
have
the
been
best
scuffling a
one.
little bit lately. I agree 100%. Who do you got?
So this is a tough one. Like you said, the Celtics have had a couple of things go on lately. I've got the Bucks winning. And I'll be honest, even the Celtics were a really good team because of the level of play that they have been at. And on the other side of the coin, the level of play the Bucks have been at. I've got the Bucks winning by about 14 to 16 points. The Bucks handling business because I think the Bucks team for pound is by far the best. I think that, the Celtics have a pretty great team, and they've had some slumps, and it's still they can come out of that. Obviously, they came out of a huge slump last season. They were in a slump the whole first half of the season, but I definitely have the Bucks coming out on top by a pretty big margin. 14 to 16 points is my prediction against that Celtics team.
I swear, everyone, I've not been copying Montana's pre-podcast notes. I have the Bucks winning, maybe not by 14, 16 points, but I just think the Bucks are playing better basketball right now. Integrating Chris Middleton back in full time, that getting him back from injury is huge. They were playing well even without him, but the Celtics have been scuffling here. They're trying to figure their ways out of it. They haven't been as crisp defensively, which is kind of what they hung their hat on the second half of last season. I have the Bucks winning, but I'm going to say Bucks by 8 on the road in Boston. If Milwaukee at Boston is the best game of the day, this has to be the second best. And that's Memphis Grizzlies traveling to San Francisco to take on the Golden State Warriors. Golden State Warriors, world beaters at home, but not so much on the road. Defending champs getting a home game in prime time. Who you got between the Warriors and Grizzlies, Montana?
Grizzlies by 8.
Grizzlies by 8.
Absolutely. Grizzlies by 8. I think that this Warriors team has been underperforming the whole season, and this Grizzlies team, they've kind of had some up and down moments with some losses that they shouldn't have lost. But I think this Grizzlies team is the better team by far, and a team that's led by Ja Morant, a team that has these players, they're hungry, and I don't think Golden State has not shown that they're hungry enough, and so I think that this Grizzlies team is going to come in and win by 8 for sure. But it should be a good game, and I think we'll see some pretty good performances on Golden State's end. But I've got Grizzlies by 8.
If Steph Curry was playing up to how he was playing before he got the shoulder injury, so Montana Smoke wants you to do about 10 push-ups on camera. Golden State wins, but I don't know if you'll have
30. Make it 30.
30. All right, 30 push-ups. We heard it here first. Smoke's gonna come back next week to collect if Golden State wins. I'd agree with them. if Steph Curry was playing, but I'm not so sure the Warriors pull it off at home without Steph Curry against Memphis. Memphis playing really well. I don't think it's a blowout. I still think it's a close game. Um, Jordan Poole's gonna have to step it up. Klay Thompson's gonna have to step it up. Uh, we're not gonna make Smoke do 30 push-ups on camera. Don't worry. Um, I have the Grizzlies winning in a close game. I don't know, 6-7 points. We'll say that. And then finally, the last game of the night, the Phoenix Suns at the Denver Nuggets. Denver's been playing well. Phoenix has been up and down. Uh, battle of two of the top teams of the West. Montana. Who you got in this one?
So yeah, this one for me, I think that these are two pretty evenly matched teams. I think this is one of the more evenly matched games that we're going to see on Christmas Day. I think that they're I don't know, they're very similar teams in a lot of ways. So this arguably could be, in my opinion, like the third. I mean, we're not going to go, which is best, but I think this is going to be like right below that Grizzlies Warriors game, because I just think that these are two teams that are going to absolutely go back and forth the whole game. In my opinion, I have this game being the closest one, and I have the Denver Nuggets winning by 2 to 3 points in a very, very, very close game. But I think that this will be an exciting game, and we'll see a lot of great performances in this game for sure.
Yeah, this is I'm just getting the visual of you doing push-ups on camera here. I don't think you'll have to do it, but they'll make for a good video.
That's true.
Um, I'm gonna go on a limb and say this one's going overtime. I have Denver winning by 4. Nikola Jokic is rounding back into his MVP caliber form. Uh, we'll see. That might be around the time Michael Porter Jr. might be coming back from a heel injury. I know having him on my fantasy team, I get the notifications every day, but he's getting closer to coming back from a heel injury. They could be getting him back, but they're playing well without him. Suns have been up and down all over the place. I don't trust him at this point. So even with that, I see a tight game going to overtime, but Denver pulling it off by 4. Now, those are the actual scheduled games on Christmas Day. And the NBA has been notorious for at least the last 20 years in scheduling, being very strategic with their scheduling and having some interesting matchups full of drama, full of interesting, whether it's players changing teams, going back to visit their old team, rivals, guys with beef, whatever. They'll schedule those guys on Christmas Day. But I think the NBA could have done a little bit better with their Christmas scheduling. Montana, if let's play a game of as if we were commissioners of the NBA. If we were Adam Silver, I mean, I have the same hairstyle as him, so I think you got to beat there. But what are some of the games that you'd want to see on Christmas Day and why? Let's talk.
Absolutely.
Let's throw some out there.
Definitely. So one that I'd really like to see, we saw this a couple of times, especially during that Cavs Warriors era, but I want to see a Cavs Warriors Christmas Day game again. We've seen some really solid Christmas Day. One of the best, if not the best, was a Cavs Warriors one. So I think I want to see a Cavs Warriors matchup again. I think that'd be great. And the Warriors, I believe the last time they met up, this is when the Cavs LeBron wasn't a Cav anymore, and it was just the Warriors were just the way more skilled team. But now that Cavs team is looking really nice again. So I want to see a Cavs Warriors Christmas rematch. I also would like to see 76ers versus Nets. I think that'd be a great Christmas Day game. Get Ben Simmons back, get those guys out. But then another one. This is the one I might want to see. Honestly, this is the one this season I'd want to see the most. Suns versus Pelicans. That would be the one. If that was on the schedule, that would be the one in my opinion.
Yeah, we've seen Suns Pelicans a couple times already this year, but those are some ones that have some juice to them. That's for sure. Couple of mine, I have some pretty good matchups, but this first one is just, I don't know, for me, it's kind of funny. It's your Los Angeles Lakers traveling to Minnesota to take on the Minnesota Timberwolves, and I call this the Pat Beverly return game. Pat Beverly created some memories up in Minnesota when they won the play-in, acting as if they won the championship, and now he's with your Lakers. I don't know why, but I think this would just be interesting. I think just to see how he'd be received and things of that nature. That just for my personal entertainment. But I call that the Pat Bev return game. I also wouldn't mind seeing the Nets at the Lakers, getting your Lakers involved again. We had talked about the Lakers and the Nets so much through the offseason. All the trade rumors are involving Russell Westbrook, which now Lakers look crazy to trade him for Kyrie Irving or anybody else at that moment. But put those teams together, those are the teams that everybody was expecting to win last year at preseason before the season even started. A lot of big names in that. Just throw them out there on Christmas. I think it'd be interesting enough. Um, or you can have an all New York game in Brooklyn at the New York Knicks. Keep the tradition alive with Madison Square Garden. Have the Nets go on to Madison Square Garden there, or have the Atlanta Hawks travel to Madison Square Garden and take on the New York Knicks. New York City's favorite son, I can't be more sarcastic in saying this, Trae Young going to Madison Square Garden on Christmas Day. I mean, what better to spend a Christmas Day than getting heckled by the largest city in America? Why not? A couple more I have, and I'll throw it back to you. Clippers and Lakers, all LA team showdown. But this is the one that I really thought we were going to see this year. It didn't end up happening, but we did get a good matchup outside of this. But the Celtics at the Golden State Warriors.
I
Usually the NBA will schedule the defending champs taking on the runner-ups. Didn't see it this year, but those are the ones I had.
Absolutely, and those are great. And your point about them usually scheduling the former finals, I really liked how they were doing that, especially when we saw that with the Cavs Warriors era. That made for some great games. But I think that for some reason, I don't think we've seen that. I don't know. Did we see that last season? We didn't see a Suns Bucks game, did we?
I actually have them up here. We did not. No, actually, we had the Celtics at the Bucks last year, and now
I
this
think
year it's the other way around.
I think we should have I think a Suns Bucks rematch on Christmas would be really fun to see, because that was honestly a better series than I think people remember. I think a lot of the hype, because you didn't have the Kevin Durant's, the LeBron James, you don't have those guys in that, the Steph Curry's, but I think that was a pretty exciting back and forth final. So I'd love to see a Christmas Day rematch where we see those two teams go back up. Another one I'd like to see is, I think that it's great. I think the NBA should do more rivalry games on Christmas, not just former finals. This and that. I'd love to see a Lakers Celtics on Christmas. That would just be,
Ooh, that's
maybe
very
not
good.
this season. I'm not sure if I want to see them on Christmas this season, especially now that AD's out. But I would like to see a Lakers Celtics matchup. I think that would be a really fun game. And honestly, that game that they just played against the Celtics was a pretty close, hard fought game. So,
Yeah.
Lakers Celtics with AD healthy this season might have been one of the better games if we had that. So I honestly think Lakers Celtics, bring that back, because there were some great Christmas Day games, especially around like the early 2000s, mid 2000s, where the Celtics played the Lakers. I think it was 2009 or 10. There was a Christmas Day game within the last 20 years, Celtics Lakers, that was legendary. So I think we need to see more rivalry games on Christmas as well.
Welcome, Ghost, and everyone else. And folks, feel free to flood the comment section, ask questions, try to get us to crack up and throw us off our games. Let's have it. No, all good calls, Montana. I think just throwing a couple more ideas out there and just brainstorming. I would want to say this year it would have been nice to see the Minnesota Timberwolves travel to Cleveland to take on the Cavs, just to get that Rudy Gobert versus Donovan Mitchell storyline there. I think that's another one. I'm trying to think of major guys that switched teams that didn't leave in the best of terms.
I've got one that didn't leave with the best of terms, but a rematch, not a rematch, but a matchup I'd really like to see on Christmas, especially since Kyrie is on the Nets, is a Warriors Nets Christmas game. That would be, if we had Steph out there healthy, if we had Kyrie out there, if we had all their guys out there, that would be a legendary matchup, because you've got players that have gone head to head in the finals or been on the same team in the finals. So I think a Warriors Nets matchup would be pretty interesting as well.
Not a bad call there either. Well, Adam Silver, if you're watching, and we all know you are, if you want to step down or take a little bit of break and hand over the reins of the NBA to a couple goofballs, we're just the guys for the job. I think we do a pretty good job overseeing the NBA, Montana.
Oh
I
yeah,
think the
absolutely.
listeners would agree. Well, speaking of what the listeners agree with, they all agree that NBA Player Or is their favorite show, especially on the internet. Ghost, you came just in time for NBA Player Or. Those of you that watch and listen to Well Beyond the Arc every week, you know exactly how the game is played. You know that Montana is the best guesser in the country, someone that we all want to take to the roulette table with us. But for those of you that are first timers and aren't sure how the game is played, I'll explain how it's played anyway. Every week, I give Montana 5 names of 5 individuals, and he has to tell me if they are an NBA player or someone from another profession. And that profession can be literally anything in the world. We've had NBA player or European politician, NBA player or comedian, NBA player or Sports Illustrated swimsuit model, for heaven's sakes. It literally can be anything. Montana doesn't know what I'm going to pick because I do it the day of, try to throw them off, but Montana is 100 out of 135 in his success rates, number of 5 for 5s. And yeah, it's pretty much how the game is played. But to throw a little nuance in, if Montana gets the answer to one of the questions correct, you will hear this sound.
Victory!
Thank you, Johnny Drama. And if Montana gets it incorrect, you'll hear this. And a finger wag from MJ. All right. Montana, how you feeling today?
I'm feeling pretty good. I've gone on a little bit of a tear lately, but I'm feeling like it could come to an end or it could keep going. I don't know. At any given show, man, I could get that 5 for 5 or that 0 for 5. Hopefully that never happens.
Well, Montana's been on a tear lately, like you said. He had 2 consecutive 5 for 5s, and the last 3 weeks in a row, he's gotten 4 out of 5. So he's trying to get that perfect score across a clean sheet across the board. So we will see how it goes. This week's topic, we're in the holiday season, Montana. It's Christmas movie season. And what better way to implement that into NBA player or to have NBA player or Christmas movie character? So, for example, if I say Kevin McAllister, that's a Christmas movie character. He was Macaulay Culkin, played him in Home Alone 2 back in the day. So I think you got the gist of it. How you feeling now that you know that?
I'm feeling really good, but I feel like there's definitely a catch because it can't be that easy because there's a lot of iconic characters that I feel like there's got to be a catch here.
Well, that depends on what you consider to be a Christmas movie. That's the only hint I will give you. It may or may not be relevant, but that is all I will say. Okay. Anyway, you ready to get started?
Let's get it.
All right. Name number 1. Is this the name of an current or former NBA player or the name of a character in a Christmas movie? The name is Ryan Kelly. Ryan Kelly.
I'm going to go with Christmas movie.
Not off to a good start. Ryan Kelly, former Los Angeles Laker.
Oh.
And Duke forward, averaged 6 points per game in 163 games from 2013 to 2017, mostly with your Los Angeles Lakers.
Forgettable. I must not have done too much. That's a forgettable time. I try to forget that time as a Laker anyway. So there's that. That's my excuse.
I can't say that I blame you. All right. Rough start, but we still got the rest of the game to go. Name number 2. Is this the name of a current or former NBA player or Christmas movie character? The name is Billy Mack. Billy Mack.
Christmas movie character.
Victory!
That is correct, and my wife will appreciate this. Billy Mack, I have no idea who he was played for, but that's the name of the character. And he is the creepy old dude singer in the movie Love Actually.
Okay, there we go.
If you haven't seen it, it's actually pretty entertaining. I'm admitting it to the internet. Somewhere my wife is giggling. All right, 1 out of 2. Name number 3. Is this a current or former NBA player or Christmas movie character? The name is Scott Calvin. Scott Calvin.
I'm going to go. It's a tricky one. I'm going to go with Christmas movie.
Victory!
Whew. The initials SC should have gave it away. Scott Calvin, played by Tim Allen in the movie series The Santa Claus. 2 out of 3. All right. Name number 4. Is this a name of a current or former NBA player or Christmas movie character? The name is Willie Stokes. Willie Stokes.
Oh, wow. I feel like I know who this is, too. Maybe not. I'm going to go with I'm going to stick with Christmas movie.
Victory!
That is a good call. Willie Stokes, played by Billy Bob Thornton as the main character in Bad Santa. All right, 3 out of 4. Way to rebound, Montana. Last one. Name number 5, NBA player or Christmas movie character. The name is Kendall Marshall. Kendall Marshall.
I'm going to this might be the trickiest one yet. NBA player.
Victory!
Kendall Marshall is a former NBA player, played in 160 games from 2012 to 2016, including one season with your Los Angeles Lakers during that forgettable time that you were talking about. Well,
Not bad.
Montana, after a rough start, you've managed to go 4 for 5 for the 4th consecutive week. If we had a white elephant gift exchange, I'd put a T-shirt that said 4 out of 5, but nothing to sniff at. That brings you at 104 out of 140. That's still well north of 70%. Well done, sir. Yeah, Alex, I thought about putting John McClane in there, but I thought that'd be too easy.
I would have gotten that one right. I was actually thinking when you said depends what you consider a Christmas movie. I honestly thought I was going to be seeing. Yeah, I thought I would be seeing that, but too obvious probably.
Way too obvious. Way too obvious. Well done, sir. Well, for now, we will take a quick break for a word from the Yankee and the Brit.
What's up, everybody? It's your boy Jay from Yankee and the Brit telling you to come over and check out our shows. The Yankee and the Brit Sports Talk, Well Beyond the Arc, the Markout Podcast, Flagrant and Foul, Real Talk with Jay, and MMA Underground Weekly at YouTube.com/The Yankee and the Brit. Deuces.
Thanks, Jay. And be sure to check out all those great podcasts on the Yankee and the Brit Sports Group. You can see all those by subscribing if you haven't already. Please hit that subscribe button if you're watching us on YouTube. We appreciate all the support and all the subscribers and all of you for joining us here today and every week on Well Beyond the Arc. Montana, before we go on, some of the comments, it's great to see the dynamics of the encouragement. You got a lot of fans out there for NBA player, or you got Smoke saying, or Ghost saying, good job, and Smoke saying, hey, you didn't suck. So I love the dynamic from you guys. Keep them coming. All right. Well, let's get into the good, the bad, and the ugly this week. I think everybody knows who my ugly will be, but let's go to the good first, Montana. Who's your good?
Yeah, so my good, this was tough because there were a couple of different good things happening within the league. Definitely not any of those happening with either of our teams, but there was some good that took place within the last little bit. But I ended up picking the New York Knicks going on that 7-game win streak, moving up to 6th in the East. And also, again, I don't know what the score is currently. I'm not tuned into it, but going for their 8th consecutive win, going for that against the Warriors, not going to be their easiest, win to piece together. But even if they drop that, going 7-1, they look so much better, so much more complete than where they started, and they've moved up to 6th. And this is the Knicks team that I think can continue and can build on, and hopefully they can get that Christmas win in and just keep building up their strength. So the New York Knicks are looking like a team they did not look like the first few weeks. So the good is absolutely the Knicks for me.
No, good call. I had them in consideration for my good as well. I'm going to go with an obvious pick, and that's Nikola Jokic's stat line the other night. 40 points, 27 rebounds in one game, and 10 assists. That's a hell of a triple-double. If those aren't MVP-like numbers, I don't know what those are in a win. Honorable mentions for my good are Jay's Milwaukee Bucks moving into the first seed in the Eastern Conference by a half game over Boston, and just the Western Conference 1 through 4 being separated by a game and a half. But my good is Nikola Jokic's stat line. What about your bad?
Yeah, so my bad is AD going down with another injury. And my biggest reason that this is my bad, again, looking at it separate from the fact that I'm a Lakers fan and just a fan of the league, there was so much buzz building up after his big stat lines he was putting up. AD's an MVP. AD is an MVP. He's an MVP, blah, blah. No, my biggest problem with that is AD is an MVP until he is out. And the problem is the amount of times that he goes back and forth for being out, being in, being out, being in, being semi-healthy, fully healthy. I don't think we can say he's been fully healthy when he's been a Laker, to be honest with you. So he's been back and forth, and him going down now is the worst time. We were starting to figure things out, and him going down leaves a huge hole, not only for the Lakers, but it leaves a hole in the league because people love watching him play. He puts up historic MVP caliber numbers. So my bad has to be AD going down with yet another injury. It's just something that happened. I mean, at the end, when he retires in accolades, there's going to be everything he's won, and then he's going to have his injury accolades. How can you? He's got to get some type of award, some lifetime achievement for getting the most injuries award, because he'll never stop getting these injuries. There's got to be a separate accolade for that.
Oh, I want to see the trophy for that. A guy on crutches or a guy. I remember when Derrick Rose kept getting hurt. The memes in Chicago were, the MVP award, and it was him in a suit, which was pretty on the bench, which was pretty rough. But I think the lifetime injury award.
They can name it after AD. If they're naming awards after players, make it the AD. He can be the first player to win an award named after himself. How about that?
Wow.
But yeah.
Wow. Put him on crutches, make it a trophy, NBA. You heard him, Adam Silver. My bad came from the yeah, King Cal. That we make up our own awards here. My bad for this week came from the Mavericks T-Wolves game last night, and it wasn't necessarily the game itself. It was what happened during the game with a couple of members of the Mavericks and the officials. Luka Doncic got thrown out after 2 quick technicals from ref Rodney Mott. I mean, they were like boom, boom right away. And I guess Jason Kidd didn't want to stick around and watch the end of that game after the Mavs were down by about 14, because he got 2 texts within about 5 seconds from ref Nick Buchert. Refs in that game, quick on the trigger, 2 ejections. Mavs end up losing to the Timberwolves. I don't know who the bad's for, if it's for the Luka and Jay Kidd getting thrown out, or for the refs having a quick trigger finger. Let's go with the refs. That's my bad. How about your ugly?
That's a good bad. That's a good bad. My ugly. I mean, there's a couple of teams that could be on the ugly list with their losing streaks, but I've got to give it to the Wizards. If I saw this, they're on a 10-game losing streak.
Thanks, Washington.
And losing, and I'm going to be honest, losing against a Lakers team that did not have Anthony Davis. I mean, I think that this Wizards team should have been able to handle business, especially with how poorly, in my opinion, the Lakers as an entire team played top to bottom in that game. The Wizards should have had that game. So if you're losing to an AD-less Lakers, and some of those other losses they've pieced together are just ridiculous. I just think their woes are going to continue, and I wouldn't be shocked if we see them build up their losing streak past 10 games. I wouldn't be shocked if they continue that, because it just seems like that's the vibes that continue going there, is losing. So I've got to give it to the Wizards for their impressively awful 10-game losing streak that they're currently on.
And I think, after he's singing Porzingis' praises a couple weeks ago, I think he's out with an injury.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know, maybe call it the podcaster's jinx. Got the announcer's jinx. We now have the podcaster's jinx. Well, my ugly, to the surprise of absolutely no one, is my beloved Chicago Bulls, but specifically, and I got to reiterate this again, for giving up 150 points in regulation to the Minnesota Timberwolves when they didn't have Karl-Anthony Towns or Rudy Gobert playing. That should have been easy buckets going to the basket. That's a game where Zach LaVine could have easily got 10 to 12 foul shots going to the basket. Now, the Bulls put up 126 points. They just basically had the Ole defense, and I don't know what they call it in different states, but the highway toll system where you just go through, we call it the I-pass. They got the I-pass defense going on. So the Bulls defense against the Timberwolves, my ugly for this week. Well, and for our listeners and everyone, please feel free to chime in with your good, bad, and ugly as we're doing this week after week. I'm curious to see what you guys have to say as well. Now, we're going to keep with the holiday theme. The Christmas Day performance theme is going to be what we go on next. And there have been some memorable Christmas Day games. Even wrote a blog about this at this point last year, which we'll share later on. But I've been watching Christmas Day games, even going back to the NBA and NBC back in the day. That John Tesh's Round Ball Rock theme, still one of my favorite musical pieces, if you will. Montana, are any specific Christmas Day games that stand out in your mind, whether it's a specific game or a performance by an individual during Christmas Day?
So yeah, absolutely. So there's been so many great, and like we talked about earlier, the NBA really used to take good focus on what games they were scheduling, and it kind of seems like it's been less and less of that as time has gone by. But I would say that without a doubt, the best. I'm going to start with what I think the best one of all time is. The absolute best Christmas Day ever was that 2016 Cleveland Cavs Golden State Warriors game that went down to the wire. Kyrie Irving hit that last second shot. I believe that was Kevin Durant's first time going up against was that their first time even playing each other that season, or had they met before then? I'm not sure if they'd met before then,
I don't.
but I don't
KD had
know.
just joined the Warriors that season, though.
Yep. KD had just joined, so it was either their first or probably their second meeting against KD. They pulled off that win. Unfortunately, they could not get that done in a playoff setting in the finals. But this Cavs team going head to head against that Warriors team, winning 109 to 108 off that Kyrie Irving shot, that was legendary. Another big one that I think people forget is that 1994 Chicago Bulls New York Knicks game. Maybe people don't forget that one, but I think what people
I haven't.
forget. Scottie Pippen put up an all-time performance. And that to me shows just how big and stacked that team was. Besides just in that Michael Jordan era, it wasn't just Michael Jordan. He had pieces around him. So I think that seeing Scottie Pippen have that Christmas Day standalone game where he really showed up, and they had a great game all the way around, winning that game 107 to 104 against the New York Knicks. And that was a stacked Knicks team. That Knicks team came for their throat. And then the third one I want to offer up is that Miami Heat versus Los Angeles Lakers game, which I believe was in 2004. It was Shaq's first time playing the Lakers since he left. And that I've watched that game a couple of times on YouTube. You can find that whole game, and it was intense. No love at all in that pregame or postgame. I mean, that was the start of that big battle and that rivalry that had gone on behind the scenes. We saw that in front of us on the court. So those three stick out to me right off the bat.
I mean, it's like you're looking off my notebook. I mean, a couple of those are high on my list as well. I mean, I don't remember there ever being a more anticipated regular season game than Shaq's return to the Staples Center as a member of the Miami Heat in 2004. That game you just referenced. The Lakers were actually above 500 at that point. The Miami Heat were above 500. They weren't the first or second seed in the East type team that they ended up being that season, but still a talented team. I mean, putting the rosters together, the Miami Heat had the vastly superior talented roster than the Lakers. But that was, Kobe willed them to even be competitive in that game. That game ended up going to overtime. Shaq fouled out, but the Heat ended up prevailing. So, I mean, the anticipation building up to that game was huge, but the game itself didn't disappoint, especially with the the lack of a pregame handshake or love lost between Shaq and Kobe back then in 04. The 94 game, the Bulls and the Knicks, you said it. Great game. Scottie Pippen had a 36-point game all around. I think it was like 36 points, 19 rebounds, 7 assists, something along those lines. Had all 7 of the Bulls' points in overtime. And the only reason that game went to overtime is because current Golden State Warriors head coach Steve Kerr hilariously batted down a football pass right into the hands of Hubert Davis, who put up a game-tying 3 to send it to overtime, when all he had to do was catch it, and the game is over. But luckily, Scottie Pippen bailed him out. You mentioned the Cavaliers-Warriors games. I mean, that's huge. For the old school basketball fans, there's Bernard King putting up 60 points in 1984. That's probably one of the legendary Christmas Day performances. Trying to think back at some of the other great games.
There's one, I think the first ever finals rematch game was the 1995 Magic versus Rockets game. Penny Hardaway hit that game-winning shot, won that game 92 to 90, getting revenge after losing in the finals to the Rockets. That was the first ever finals rematch, and arguably that might have been one of the greatest ones there was. Hard-fought game. Shaq and Hakeem went at it that game. That game went back and forth until the end, and then Hardaway got that shot. People also forget how good Hardaway. I mean, that's who
Penny
he
Hardaway.
was.
Yes,
that's
sir.
Who he was.
Shaq and Hakeem, the two best centers of the 1990s. Throw David Robinson in there too, but great game. Yeah, and the NBA did purposely had finals rematches going on, NBC all the way through ESPN, all that good stuff. Other good. We'll go into individual performances. D Wade putting up a 40-point performance against the Lakers in 2006. A D Wade versus Kobe Bryant performance there. Heat winning by 16 at home. How many times the Bulls played on Christmas Day with Michael Jordan? Couple different games you can choose from. 42-point game against the Knicks in 1992. Bulls Pistons in 1996 when Grant Hill was at the top of his game before all the injuries, where Scottie Pippen and Jordan team up to have solid games and beat the Pistons, who were up and comers at the time and home. Just a number of Christmas Day performances, great Christmas Day games, but I don't know if any of them, even the Bernard King game, tops a game that Wilt Chamberlain had on Christmas Day
Mm-hmm.
all the way back in 1961, where Wilt the Stilt scored 59 points and grabbed 36 rebounds. Granted, I get it's 1961 and J.J. Redick might think that he was playing against plumbers, but that's a hell of a stat line. I don't think anything beats that.
Absolutely. No, there's never going to be. That's by far the best Christmas Day performance. I don't think the thing with Wilt Chamberlain is who is ever going to match his stat. I don't think anyone is ever going to match. Again, you could argue that a lot of that has to do with the era of basketball, this and that, but Wilt Chamberlain is an all-time player that would be successful even in today's league without a doubt. So that is just an unmatched performance. Another great performance, an individual performance, Tracy McGrady had a really nice showing in 2003. LeBron James's Christmas debut was spoiled by the Orlando Magic and Tracy McGrady. And McGrady had a great game, 41 points, 11 assists, 8 rebounds, 3 steals. And it was just a great game. And they ended up winning by 12 points in overtime. And that was largely credited to McGrady. He was a great part of that team without a doubt. That was huge. And then another one, we got Nate Archibald had that 18 assist.
Tiny.
It was I don't know if it still is the record. I don't think it is the record anymore. Is it still the record?
On Christmas Day, I think it's the record.
So you got that 18 assist, 20-point, 18 assist game back in 1972. That was an all-time performance. One of the better ones we've seen assist-wise, without a doubt.
Well, one more that I forgot about. Jermaine O'Neal would have been a Hall of Famer in the 1960s. You know what, Smoke? You might be right. That'd be interesting to say. That is fair, actually. Another one that I forgot to mention, 2010 Bulls at Knicks at Madison Square Garden. I don't remember Carmelo Anthony's final stat line, but that's a game that was a back and forth close game for most of the second half. Carmelo Anthony hits a game-tying 3 in dramatic fashion to send the game into overtime, then later hits a game-winning 3 in overtime to have the Knicks beat the Bulls there. So some great moments. The stars come out to play on Christmas Day in the NBA. NBA does a great job of marketing its stars. It always has since the David Stern era, but putting great matchups out on Christmas Day, and no doubt it'll happen again this year. So I know, Montana, you're looking forward to it, and so am I.
Absolutely.
Well, one thing that we haven't done in a week or two is update our MVP ladder. It's getting tighter and tighter. It seems like we're talking about this all the time, but we're going to go through and rank our top 5 MVP guys from number 5 all the way to 1. We'll have to go through this quickly as we run out of time here. But where do you have as number 5, or who do you have at number 5? Excuse me.
So my list looks a little different. This will be fun to check in because I think our list will change pretty frequently, honestly. So I've got Kevin Durant sitting in my number 5 spot. His level of play is amazing, and his leadership, the fact that he's helped this Nets team get up to where they are, I think that's a big call to his leadership. I think we're seeing more leadership on his part. So I've got to give him number 5, but it's definitely not for the leadership. It's the stats are showing there too. I mean, he's putting up Kevin Durant-esque numbers, especially on the scoring side. You know that he always has 30 pieces ready to go. So I've got Kevin Durant sitting pretty comfortably in that 5 spot for me.
If Anthony Davis wasn't hurt, this is where I would have him. And unfortunately, because he's going to be out for a month, I had to drop him off of my top 5. Spoiler alert there. I actually have Kevin Durant as well at number 5. He's been playing very, very well. The Nets have turned it around. You haven't heard much drama out of him. It's just simply playing basketball, and a big reason for that is Kevin Durant's play. He's been uber efficient, probably the second most efficient guy in the NBA. I don't have the PER advanced stat metrics in front of me, or do I want them? But he's the second most efficient player in the NBA other than Giannis Antetokounmpo, but shooting 56% as a perimeter player, averaging about 30 points per game, and the Nets are arrows pointing straight up for him. So good call. How about number 4?
So I've got Nikola Jokic there, and I know that he had an all-time performance, but as a whole, he's putting up great numbers. But I still don't have him sitting at the top because I just think overall there's some players that are above him. But he's by far still in that top 5 conversation. So I've got Jokic sitting right at 4, and he was actually at 5. So that performance he put up for him moved him up 1 spot for me. So I've got him comfortably at 4.
So I'm going to cheat here, and I have a tie at number 4. I couldn't decide between the two big men that were 1 and 2 for MVP voting last year. So I have a tie at number 4 between Joel Embiid and Nikola Jokic. With Harden out of the lineup and Joel Embiid balling out, he's single-handedly helped bring the 76ers back to contention in the Eastern Conference. But Nikola Jokic, especially with that game the other night, and he's getting playing himself into shape a little bit and trying to figure out, integrate Jamal Murray back into the mix, Michael Porter Jr., even though he's out again. But that's your defending 2-time MVP, and he's certainly playing like that. So right now, as of today, 4, I have a tie between Embiid and Jokic. How about 3?
So I've got Jason Tatum at my 3 spot. I think he was sitting top. He's been sitting top few for me every time we've checked in. All-time performances, definitely one of the bright spots for that Celtics team right now. But as a whole, the team is not having the success it needs, I think, at the moment at least. So I don't have him sitting up any higher, but he's definitely comfortably at that number 3 because he's putting up all-time stats, and he'll definitely sit in the top 5, I think, pretty comfortably unless anything changes the whole season.
Yeah, for 3, I actually have Luka Doncic. Selfishly, as a fan, I want to see Luka win this award, just because it'd be cool. I mean, he's one of my favorite players in the league. He'd be a new guy to win the MVP award. The last 4 MVPs that have had consecutive winners with Giannis Antetokounmpo and Nikola Jokic. Nothing wrong with that. They certainly deserve it, and they deserve to be in the MVP race every year. I think if the Dallas Mavericks record was a little bit better and they were a little bit higher up in the Western standings, I can see Luka Doncic moving up. You're right, King Cal. He needs help. He needs help. And I would hope the Mavericks are going to be buyers at the trade deadline or even before that. But Luka Doncic, highly deserving at least a top 3 in MVP voting. He's my number 3. How about number 2?
So got Luka sitting in my number 2 spot, pretty much for all the reasons you said. The Mavs do not have the success they need to have for Luka to be at that top spot because, again, it's a stats award, but it's also a success award, and there's more than just the statistical side. But statistical wise, I think Luka is definitely sitting up there for sure. And I just worry. I think if the Mavs can figure things out, he'll only move up and he'll stay within that top 3. But if they keep moving down, we might see Luka fall out of people's lists, and he might at least fall down longer in mine. If they can't figure things out, next time we do a check-in, he might fall out. So he's in my number 2 spot. Great play, but it's not coming in the wins column at all for that team.
No, I completely agree with that, and especially with the Nets playing well, Jokic and the Nuggets moving up. Those guys can move up while Luka keeps slipping down. So we'll see what happens. My number 2, I said this last week that in a lot of times I believe that the best player and the best team, if they're the most dominant player in the league that year, should be the MVP award. But for me, that person has slipped down to number 2, and that's Jason Tatum. Celtics have had a little bit of a rough week. He's still having a career year, still having an All-NBA first-team type year. But, I have him number 2. That's nothing to sneeze at. I think I know who your number 1 is. We might have the same guy number 1, but let's hear it, Montana.
Yeah, so my number 1 has got to be Patrick Beverley. He's been putting up some all-time stats for the league. No, my number 1, not my number 1, Giannis. Giannis is best team in the league, best player in the league. Case closed. He's up there for me. I do think now I still have Luka winning. I still am holding true to my prediction at the end of the season. I think Luka can win the award, but Giannis is the best player in the league right now, and his team is the best. So I've got to get Giannis is up top, and he's sitting comfortably at 1 right now because we have player success and team success, and that's what makes an MVP.
I can't say it any better. My number 1 is Giannis Antetokounmpo as well, and my explanation is what Montana said. That's it. Well, we'll be doing those MVP ladder check-ins every couple of weeks or so. It's a long season. A lot can happen. Teams fall and rise in the standings. Guys get hurt. Things of that nature. So we'll continue to do that as the season goes on. Well, we've come to a close on episode number 29, Montana, if you can believe that.
Wow.
But this isn't the only place that you can find us. Montana's got a couple projects that he's working on. You can find his work there. Montana, tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, absolutely. So I've got the Connor and Heffernan show. It's kind of a bi-weekly program where we just talk about college football, college basketball, hockey, baseball. We talk about a little bit of everything. You can find us on YouTube and Spotify at the Connor and Heffernan show. We have a couple of episodes out for season 2. Check those out. And then Purple and Gold Zone is my all Lakers show. Next episode might be a little bit rough, but make sure to tune in. We've got finally out on YouTube. I did my first Purple and Gold Zone episode on YouTube this last week. So you can find Purple and Gold Zone on Spotify and YouTube. Looking into clocking in a potential interview with a former Laker within the next month. So stay tuned looking for that. I'm in contact with someone.
Nice.
Currently. So Purple and Gold Zone and Connor and Heffernan show is what we're rocking with.
All right. Well, I'll give you a little teaser as well. You want to tune in to Montana's last episode podcast of the Purple and Gold Zone. You'll want to find out who he refers to as the Magic Man. I'll give you a hint. It's not Magic Johnson in that episode. Be sure to check that out, everybody. As far as my work, I have my blog website called The Sports Page Blog. You can find that at thesportspageblog.com. Just put out my last blog. Basically, it's the Joakim Noah appreciation post. Put my 10 favorite Joakim Noah moments. Some of them aren't really necessarily basketball related. Guy was entertaining. Guy was a heart and hustle. Wasn't the most talented player, but the Bulls can use a guy with a little heart right now. And maybe that was a little, just wanted to go down memory lane there. But be sure to check that out. That link is posted at the bottom of the YouTube description here today, in addition to a link to a blog I posted about a year ago with my top 10 NBA Christmas Day performances ever. So please be sure to check that out. That's all the time we have for everyone today. Thank you so much for joining us. Happy holidays. Be safe out there. Enjoy time, and especially if you're in the Midwest, be careful in traveling with the snow and the low wind chills and 50-mile-an-hour winds. Hope you guys enjoy. We'll be off for about a week or two, but we will let you know when we're back on. Make sure you subscribed and you'll find out. Take care, everybody.